Welcome to Haunting Live Podcast, a place where we bring a new paranormal guest each episode to share their journey and experiences. For more Haunting Live real experiences, be sure to follow us on our social, on Instagram, Facebook, and also Blue Sky. And don't forget to also check us out on our official website, HauntingLivePodcast.com.
So when I was a kid, I used to sneak in my mom's room and play with her cards and, do readings on myself and stuff. And it was just, that was kind of where it started. Turns out my mom knew I was doing it, but so she never encouraged or discouraged. She just knew it was happening. And then later on, when I got my own deck, I would talk to her about the cards and stuff like that. But my mom and I have a very different approach. I'm more intuitive and she's more purist in her interpretation of the card. So I'll look at a card and get a meaning from it, kind of like I'll springboard into a meaning where this card means this. So we used to have little arguments about the cards when we did readings, but that's really where it comes from. And then from there, I just started dabbling in it and more, and I guess I realized I had a gift and I just ran with it.
And welcome to this episode of Haunting Live Podcast. We have a wonderful guest with us joining us for this episode. He is a psychic. He does also tarot reading. He does hypnosis. He does past life regression. He does palmistry and also feng shui. He's also a former professor, and amongst other many things, including being on many TV shows in the past as well. So he's gotten out there a little bit, and we welcome him to our show tonight here on Haunting Live. Please welcome Psychic Ralph. How are you, Ralph?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us on Haunting Live. It's wonderful to have somebody local on the show. It's so nice to have people on from all over the world. But it's also nice to get somebody that's local to us here in our region as well, get to know you as well. So thank you for taking your time and talking to us today.
My pleasure.
First of all, can you kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you became a psychic?
Well, my name is Psychic Ralph, but my birth name is Ralph Hammelman. I'm originally from Newfoundland, and my roots in doing tarot readings starts with my family, because my mom was a tarot reader in Newfoundland. In fact, she was probably one of Newfoundland's best known psychics. And she opened Newfoundland's first New Age store called Sylvia's Treasure Chest. And so every Christmas and birthday, I would get like a bunch of tarot cards and crystals and incense every Christmas, every birthday. And I loved it because it's just something that my mom and I have in common. And I guess when you grow up with someone who is doing tarot readings, it's not a spooky out there kind of thing. It's like if you grow up, Muslim or Christian, it's just, second nature to you. So when I was a kid, I used to sneak in my mom's room and play with her cards and, do readings on myself and stuff. And it was just, that was kind of where it started. Turns out my mom knew I was doing it, but so she never encouraged or discouraged. She just knew it was happening. And then later on, when I got my own deck, I would talk to her about the cards and stuff like that. But my mom and I have a very different approach. I'm more intuitive and she's more purist in her interpretation of the cards. So I'll look at a card and get a meaning from it, kind of like I'll springboard into a meaning where this card means this. So we used to have little arguments about the cards when we did readings, but that's really where it comes from. And then from there, I just started dabbling in it and more, and I guess I realized I had a gift and I just ran with it.
Great. So how did you kind of run with it then? What made you pursue it more in depth? Was there an experience that you had, or did you find that the cards just kind of called to you and you wanted to explore it more? Or how did that kind of expand for you?
Well, it's funny because I've done a lot of work in the music industry in different areas, and I used to plan events, and it was like pulling teeth to get media attention. But with the psychic stuff, people would come to me, and I mean, I do believe there's a Buddhist proverb to choose the path of least resistance. So there was this flow and curiosity around this. And I mean, I acknowledged it at the time. I thought, wow, I wish everything else I did flowed like this. So that was the first thing. The other thing is that I got restructured out of a job in 2003, and I kind of took inventory of what I could do and what I wanted to do. And I created an event called the Psychic Brunch, which ran for t over 20 years. It actually ended because of COVID. And the Psychic Brunch was an event where we had a host restaurant, and we would invite guests to come. They would get a reading and like a discount on their breakfast. And it was kind of like a fun social event for like a gaggle of lady friends to go out and get readings together. So it kind of brought a social component in. So the readings were more light, and they weren't as intense as I get now in my private practice because it was more of a social thing. But that kind of led to my private practice really expanding because I was reluctant to put myself out there as a reader doing, readings on home or over the phone. And during COVID, I thought, well, I've been doing this for years. I may as well. And there's been a lot of interest, and I'm really grateful for the clients that I've been able to attract and the income and all of it. And I have to be honest with you, I absolutely love the work. It's something that is really enjoyable because I like problem solving and helping people come up with solutions. But one of the things that differentiates me from other psychics is that I don't focus heavily on predictions. It kind of goes against my philosophy because your future's not set. And I think that when you tell someone their future, you're robbing them of their personal power because you and I all can control our destiny, not my cards or me. And once you open that up, the reading becomes more about how to manifest our goals rather than what's coming, whether you like it or not. So it really gives us a chance to dip our oar in the water and steer course.
So do you then kind of use the tarot deck as a guidance more for people and sort of point them in the
Absolutely.
right direction?
Absolutely. It's all about guidance, but also clarity, because sometimes I get a lot of clients who are in dysfunctional relationships and they just want to know whether this is something they should want. And it's a tool that I use to help them see what's going on. And I always tell a client, a good reading should tell you what you inherently know. Because if it resonates, then it's telling you a truth that you already knew. We all have the answers. And like one of the hypnosis sessions I do is where we meet our higher self, and we can do a kind of a reading within ourself with our higher self. So instead of asking my cards a question, I take you into hypnosis. You meet your higher self, and you can ask your higher self questions. And the guidance is all there, the same guidance I would provide. And in fact, I prefer that because um, it's more, I'm the middleman when I do a reading, but when a person does that session, it's going to source and they're finding out from their higher self which direction they should go or the clarity they need.
Yeah, that's so true. So we were going to touch on that as well. So it's a good time to kind of jump into that. How does hypnosis and tarot work together? Like you just kind of touched upon it a little bit there, where you go into like a higher self, a different level.
Yeah.
But what kind of benefits would it have working with tarot and a client?
Well, the two go together well because after you go through hypnosis, I think it's really important to process what you experienced. You can't just put someone into something like that, take them out and say, okay, thank you, here's, give me your money and go. So I give the client a chance to talk about it, but then we break it down even further with the tarot. So it becomes a tool to even get a deeper understanding of what they just went through. So that way they go through the hypnosis, but then they get to have that extra layer of understanding and personal growth. So it does really complement both of these modalities go really well together actually.
So generally, when people do hypnosis, it's to kind of bring out feelings or sort of past life issues that you've had, or to kind of feel things that you don't know were there, I guess, right? So
Yeah.
do people often find things that they didn't know they had connections with? when you do
I'm actually
hypnosis?
I'm glad you framed it that way because a lot of people see hypnosis strictly as a tool for losing weight or quitting smoking and those kinds of things. And it can be used that way, but I don't use it that way. I use it like you described as a way to retrieve information. And probably the best way to describe this is, have you ever noticed when you're half awake, half asleep, solutions will come to you? You know, you're about to fall asleep or you're just about to wake up, and all of a sudden you'll have a solution to some problem that you have. And often we go back to sleep and we forget about it. I believe the technical term is hypnopapnia and hypnagogia. Um, and great minds like Edison and Tesla and some of the other greatest minds of our time have attributed this half awake state to their brilliance. And the reason why we're able to access that brilliance there is because the membrane between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is at the thinnest. When you do hypnosis, you can access the brilliance of the subconscious mind because 90% of our thought patterns, thought processes happen on a subconscious level. Our subconscious mind is always churning, 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 processing. So there is a brilliance inside all of us. And the great thing about doing hypnosis is that you can go in there and access that brilliance that we all have. It's not just Edison and Tesla. It's we all have that ability. In fact, I tell clients, listen, if you can't afford hypnosis, go to bed with a problem and ask your subconscious mind to solve it. And quite often, over a few sleeps, you're going to start getting glimmers of ideas. And I even formed a whole project doing that once. So that is something that's accessible to all of us. Also, meditation is another way to, you know, go into that subconscious state because we go into a state of alpha when we do meditation and hypnosis. So it's both, but we go into a very similar mindset. But it is powerful to go there. And the insights, the information is always within all of us.
Then that's a great way to bring it out, though, too, is like you suggested during your post sleep and your pre sleep, is to kind of try to remember at least what you were dreaming about at that moment. How would you
Yes.
recommend people, though, besides going to an official session to draw that information out? How can they remember that if they're just sleeping in their own space?
That's an excellent question. I tell lots of clients to have a journal at their bed or to keep their phone there so they can record a voice memo. Those are two ways to get the information because if you think you're going to remember it when you wake up, you often won't. No, unfortunately.
No, half the time you don't remember the dreams that you do have, so
No, no. And it's so important to hold on to those nuggets because there can be some real gold in there.
definitely for sure. And how do you tie that into your everyday mediumship then? Do you actually use it for reaching out to spirit as well, or can you use that to reach out to spirit?
I don't identify really as a medium. Um, but I have done medium work, if that makes sense. When I have a communication, when I do communication with the tarot, I'm connecting with the universe. It's a very high, it's not a particular entity or spirit that I'm working with, but through that channel, you can access everything. So if you're looking for messages from a departed loved one, I can ask the cards what messages that departed loved one has, and I can still receive them. But I'm not receiving them directly from that loved one. I'm receiving them. It's like a relay system where I'm getting them from the cards via the universe via the loved one. So it goes through a few channels before I get it.
Well, that's good. At least you do have a method for yourself to sort of be a medium, but you're still using your
Yeah,
trained ways of using tarot and other devices as well. So
and it's funny because it is still very accurate. It doesn't really lose, even though it's going through a few channels, it doesn't really lose the meaning along the way, which you would think it would, but it doesn't.
well, it could depend upon how your client also interprets your cards that come up as well for them, right?
Yes.
They may interpret it differently than what was intended, though. Do you find that sometimes?
Oh, I find that all the time. I find that I remember I had a client once, and I remember pulling the Eight of Pentacles and saying, there's eights represent new chapters. And it often means a new job. But I said to her, I see in 8 weeks or 8 months, there's going to be a really big change coming for you. I was thinking a new job. She came back, 3 months later and said, my husband died 8 weeks after the reading. So even though the psychic is relaying the information, we don't have all the information. We don't, and that's a big misconception a lot of people have is that we're all knowing. We're not. We're not God. God is the only one who knows everything. We're just messengers. That's all we are. We're just there to relay a message. And I think there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that because when I give someone a reading, I do not give frightening predictions. I don't give predictions at all, but I don't frighten them because that kind of thing can become a reality if we hold on to it too much. So there's a lot of responsibility that comes with this. And I make sure I give the client what I think they can handle. And that's where I differ. Another way I differ with a lot of psychics because I know psychics that will scare the.
Are you looking for that hard to find item, spiritual item that your loved one wants to always get, but you don't know right where to check out? Why not check us out here underneath HauntingLivePodcast.com. Underneath our store, though, we actually have tons of items from dream catchers, crystals, so many more for you. Check us out underneath HauntingLivePodcast.com.
Will scare you to death with some of the things they say, and it's not helpful. I think a good psychic reading should be uplifting. It should inspire you because there's always good things that can happen. And I don't think dwelling on the negative is going to help anyone, but I think dwelling on the positive can help people avoid the negative and just give them that little lift that they might need in their life right here and now.
Well, that's just it. You kind of really don't know what that client is coming in for exactly. They may tell you one thing, or they might not tell you anything, but then you kind of have to read them to find out what they want. And
Yeah.
they might not get the answer they're expecting either.
Well, because I'm a life coach, I tell my clients there is going to be a Q&A, so I am going to need them to give me information. But I also tell my clients it's not a therapy session, so I can't go as deeply as they might want because often the sessions are either 45 minutes or an hour, and I don't have the luxury of time. So I'll say, look, I'm going to have to ask you some questions, but I need really short answers. And then after that information, I'll go into a reading just to kind of know the lay of the land and help figure out their goals.
Other things that you do also include past life regression, so I want to touch on that a little bit. Does that tie into hypnosis at all, or is that totally separate?
No, it's actually, I did the hypnosis program at University of Toronto, and the teacher I had was Georgina Cannon, who's one of the foremost hypnotists in Canada. And she was also doing past life regression. So I did her course as well, and it was amazing. The thing about past life regression is when I've done it myself, I always kind of felt like I was making up a story. And I'm being really honest when I say that. I just always felt like I was making up a story. But when I opened my eyes after going back, tears would come rushing down. And I'm not a crier. I mean, I'm a Cancer, but I'm not a crier. So I'd be like, whoa, where are these tears coming from? But the most important thing that about these past life regressions that I've done personally, or the ones that I've facilitated, is that every past life is a valuable mirror to our current life. Always, 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 always. So the way I sell this on my website, I don't say, go back and see yourself in the past. I have a video where I very honestly say, it's not about how realistic this past life is, but it's about the message that this past life carries in your current life. There's always a very powerful and profound message, and that is the value of past life regression. Now, do I believe in it personally? Yeah, I've done it enough that I believe in it. And I wouldn't do it as a service if I didn't believe in it. But I can understand people's skepticism about it. So I tell them, don't make it about whether it's real or not, or that if it happened or not. You're going to lose the whole value. Make it about how this is going to mirror your current life and what insights you're going to have, and then you're going to have value. And you might even have more if you go, wow, this definitely happened. This feels right.
So how do you find it? Do you enjoy doing past life for people and finding out
Yeah.
what happened to them in their past?
It's funny because as a psychic intuitive, when I do past life regression, I feel like I'm getting a free movie because I'm actually there with the client watching what's happening. I've actually said to them like, "What's your name?" And I'm hearing the name of my ear, Beverly, and they'll say Beverly. I'm like, "Wow, that's wild." Or I'll say, what does Beverly look like? And they're describing, and I'm describing her, and I'm seeing her. I see the blonde hair before they mention the blonde hair, the white robe, the whatever. Like it's this really bizarre experience for me to be on this journey, see the life, see the experience. And the way it works is we start at, an early stage in the life, maybe in their 20s or teens or whatever, and then we go to the next important event. So we're jumping around, jumping forward in this past life. And there's a whole story that unfolds. And it's another version of the same soul. Personality can be very different. It's just another version of the same soul, and it's wild. It's really wild to experience it as, to receive past life regression, but to give it as well is just as powerful and meaningful. So I have to say I love past life regression. It's one of my favorite things to do with someone. But I can't say it's my favorite because it's like asking a parent to choose their favorite child.
Well, yeah, of course, you've got so many interesting things that you're involved with that I assume you love doing each and everything that you do, or else you wouldn't be doing them all the time. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So, do you actually, you were saying that you see them, and do you actually get to physically see them in your mind as your psychic
Yeah.
then? Like you see the images before they do?
It's wild. Yeah. I've never had, I'm an empath, so I feel things as a Cancer. I'm very sensitive to energy. And in the past, when I have studied auras or crystal ball gazing, I kind of I got to a point that I was like, oh, this is getting too much because I never wanted to see things because I felt like feeling them was too much as it was. To see them as well would just be sensory overload. And this is the first time that I've really leaned into the ability to see things and thought, you know what, this is fine. I'm going to do this. And now I'm actually open to auras and crystal ball gazing. In fact, my mom gave me this thing for Christmas, which is a mini um, ball gazing. It opens up to an obsidian pendant. So um, it's kind of, I saw that as symbolic of my needing to open up my third eye and start using it a bit more, which I've resisted, like I said. Um, but maybe that's why I like the past life regression because I feel like I'm there. It's like being in VR or something. I feel like I'm right there with them.
Yeah, it definitely is a form of VR that you can use
Yeah,
anytime you want to.
absolutely. Absolutely.
But that probably was a sign for you too that you need to practice that some more or use it some more to get used to it, right?
I haven't taken this gift that my mom gave me off my neck since Christmas, since I got it from her on Christmas Eve. So it's been with me. Yeah. So it's absorbing my energy every day.
Honestly, that's my stone as well. I wear a black obsidian stone that has the chakra symbols on it every day. So I feel that helps protect me every day.
It's
So
a really good protection stone, actually. Yeah. When you have your when you have your antenna up and you're very sensitive, we have like I always tell that to people who are and like when I have clients coming to my home, I usually give them a gift. And quite often I get a lot of empaths over and they have to protect. And that's one of the best stones, black obsidian for that. Onyx too.
yes, they worked really well for that. So, all right. Well, next I'd like to touch a little bit upon a different subject. You have been recently ordained and
Yeah.
became, I guess, a full-fledged minister.
Yeah.
How does that feel, number one, for you? And what made you decide that you wanted to go in that direction?
Well, I'm taking an end of life doula program at Laurentian right now, and I thought it would be good to take what I offer and tailor it to people who are at the end of their life and who want to process their experience. And I've always wanted to be a wedding officiant, um, especially since same-sex marriage became legal. And I thought, I'd really like to work with the queer community, but also people who are interfaith or who have relationships based on feminist principles. I think these are people who maybe don't want a conventional church wedding. And that's where I felt I could be of service. I used to teach public speaking. So getting in front of a room full of people, not a problem. The spiritual side I've been doing for over 30 years. So it kind of brought everything together for me and the end of life doula stuff. So it just seemed like a natural progression. And I love learning. I love growing. I love challenging myself. So it just seemed like a next step. I haven't done any weddings yet, but I haven't put myself out there. I got my license from the Ontario government a couple of weeks ago. It's just been sitting on my desk, but I'm going to start putting it out there and saying, "Hey, I can do your wedding if you want." And like I said, it's something that I'm excited about doing for people who maybe have fallen through the cracks of certain doctrines, and just to be a safe space for those folks.
Yeah, it sounds like a wonderful idea is that you can help people that maybe have been told no by other places that do that and have shut them out. And you can be that door that opens for them and get what they need done, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. I think we all there's a space for everyone. I really believe that, and um, when you come together, I mean, I think especially gay marriage is such a huge deal in the LGBTQ plus community. Um, I think you want to have an officiant who gets it, better yet, maybe who's lived it and really appreciates how important this a milestone this is.
yes, it is for sure. And I'm sure there are places out there, but I don't think there's probably enough of them that support what the community actually needs. And I think it would be great if you could do that and get your name out there and start helping those that need it. So,
I just got to get on it. I'm just soon. I'm in the throes of my second course in the doula program, so I'm kind of eyes deep in that, but it's coming. It's coming.
sure, do you want to talk about that for a little bit now? What is that all about? And kind of explain what your plans are with your education that you're taking right now.
Well, I'm doing a program at Laurentian, End of Life Doula, and it's a 4 credit course. You don't get I think you get a credential after you finish it, and um, it's an interesting course. It's really about we've all heard of birth doulas, but the end of life doula kind of does the exact same work, but at the end of life. And it's about being an advocate for people who are dying, because there are people who do die in clinical settings where their wishes are not being heard or respected. And it's really about, sitting with this person, finding out, how to help them spiritually, how to make the process comfortable. It's not about avoiding death, because death is inevitable to all of us. So we're talking about people who maybe are stage 4 cancer, or who are, they're at the end of their life. So it's not about treating or curing, but it's about comfort. And that goes, like I said, on a spiritual level, emotional level, physical level. So just to get them as comfortable as possible as they go on this journey, and to make sure that and there's a lot of advocating with the family, with doctors. So it's an interesting profession. Now, for me personally, there's certain aspects of this process I don't want to take on, because what I'd rather do is offer the services that I have. Because I think, like, for example, past life regression. I've died so many times in my past life regression. Because at the end of every past life regression, you witness your own death. And the reason for that is you need to sever the connection with that life and come back to this life. So I've died so many times. And when you go through each death from a past life, you look at this life as just a continuum. So it actually does help. I never was hugely afraid of death. And right now I'm just like, it's a blip. I'm not afraid of it at all. And I think that could be a valuable tool. I also recently, I've been doing Reiki for over 30 years, but I've been certified as a Reiki master. And I think Reiki could be a really great tool to offer people who are at the end of their life. And, and even the tarot and life coaching, I think could be used as a tool to help people create closure or maybe to create bucket lists and identify the goals they have while they're still alive and to try to make sense of their dying. So I'm just basically taking what I have and just packaging it differently for people who are at the end of their life. And then having the end of life training is the glue that holds it all together.
Yeah, that's a wonderful idea, especially if you have the training and experience and willingness to help somebody that's at the end of their life and encourage them a little bit by maybe giving them some Reiki and helping them along. It might be a little bit better for them in the end.
Huge. And I will share something anecdotally, if that's okay. Sometimes I'll get clients because I guess they feel safe with me and they feel that I'm listening. They'll even say, I'd love to be your friend. That happens a lot. It's very flattering, of course, but that's like being friends with your doctor or your therapist. It's just a boundary that I can't do. And I've had to say to clients before, God, you're lovely, but the work I do is very lonely because I can't cross that professional line and be a friend. But also the role I have with my friends and the roles I have with clients are very different because with my friends, there's a give and take. And with my clients, it's all give. And so what they're drawn to is a part of my professional persona, but that is not my whole self. Because when like with my friends, there has to be the give and take. So that is something that I've encountered a few times. And like I said, I'm flattered and I always feel terrible saying, I'm sorry, I can't do this. And I try to explain it as gently as possible. But I do find that, especially in a big city like Toronto, there's a lot of lonely people. We have like a city of millions of people. Everyone has a phone. We're all texting and we're all on the internet. And you would think loneliness would be gone, but I think people are more lonely now than they've ever been. And a lot of times I get clients who are looking for a relationship when, in fact, I think they just need to find their clan. They need to find their tribe of people that they connect with. And sometimes I'll help them identify that and say, you know what, I don't know if you need a partner so much as you need a group of friends. And they'll go, yeah, I don't really have a lot of friends. And I'll say, we need to get you, we need to get that satisfied first. So that way, when you do find a person, you're not going to be expecting too much from them. And that's really common.
And have you helped people in that situation? Have they come back to you and say, yeah, you helped me. I have a happier life now?
Yeah, and I see it too in my reviews because I have some really I'm very lucky. I have some great reviews on Google. And yeah, it makes it worthwhile when you hear how you've impacted other people. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yes, it is for sure. It's great to help people, and especially if they tell you too after that you were helped by you, then you know as well, right? Sometimes you don't find out after. So
well, and one of the things I mean, a lot of clients will, say to me after the reading, okay, when should I see you again? And I'll say, this isn't church. You don't you don't have to come back every Sunday. I don't run a practice like that. Just know that if you need me, I'm here for you. But I don't ever want my clients to feel pressured to come back. And I'll say to them, listen, if I never see you again, that means you're doing great. I'm happy for you. Don't worry about me. Enjoy your happiness because that means I did my job.
yeah, exactly.
I'm a terrible businessman.
Yeah, no, don't come back.
Well,
please do, but don't.
I've had clients come to me and say, first thing, am I cursed? And I'll say, why do you think that? And they'll say that they saw another psychic who told them they're cursed. And I'll say, let me guess, they asked for $1,000 to lift the curse. And they're like, oh my God, you are psychic. And I'll say, no, I've just heard of this scam. It's a scam. And anyone who tells you you're cursed and then right away is putting a price tag on curing said curse, I'm sorry, they're running a scam, and you have to run for the hills when that happens. It's really unethical. And I say on my website under ethics that I won't do that or pressure clients to book follow-ups. I just, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I can't push the prosperity. I have to wait for it to come.
Well, let's jump topics a little bit now. You wrote to me before that you did have a experience in the paranormal field. Do you want to talk a little bit about what happened to you and what you encountered?
So, when my father passed, my father was living in Newfoundland and I was in Toronto. And when my dad passed away, I couldn't go to the funeral. And that weighed heavily on me, that not going, because it's just one of those things you think you're supposed to do. And about maybe 2 weeks after he passed, I was talking to my cousin on the phone, and I noticed a photo of me and my dad that I forgot about. It was on one of my shelves. I was like, oh yeah, look, there's a picture of me and my dad. Huh. And I just continued the phone call. And then the next morning, I got up and I hadn't put on my glasses, but I noticed something shiny on the floor. So I leaned over, picked it up, and it was an empty picture frame. And it was like, oh, geez, that was the frame that my dad's picture was in. And of course, my logical brain kicks in. I'm thinking, okay, well, the wind knocked it over. And it was like, well, no, my dad passed in November, so the windows were closed. Okay, the cats did it. And then it was like, yeah, but the cats don't know how to remove a picture from the picture frame. And if they did, they'd be like on TV. They'd be very talented cats. And there were no bite marks in the picture. So the only logical explanation I had was that my dad was letting me know that it was okay. And I found that extremely comforting that my dad visited. I mean, when I told my mom, I said, he could have done something helpful like do the dishes or scoop the litter box. There could have been better way. But it was still very comforting to know that my dad had come by. And there was no doubt in my mind. It was this picture of me and him. And like I said, it's really hard to remove a picture from a picture frame. And also the picture was behind, like I had a little kind of like a barricade where the TV was and the shelf was. It was behind that. So I don't even know how it got out of the frame. And the frame was on one side of the barricade and the picture was on the other. So I had to look for the picture. I was like, what the heck? How did it get back there? And my moon's in Capricorn. So when something happens, spiritually, I always look at it very, very pragmatically and go, okay, don't jump to conclusions. What could this be? And when the only logical explanation, I guess another explanation could be sleepwalking, but I'm too lazy for that. I wish I did sleepwalk because I probably have never had weight problems. But no, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that my dad came. And it was amazing to know that. And it was a message I really, really needed to hear at a time like I was mourning his loss.
Yeah, definitely would have been a sign for you that you found the picture, number one, and that you're able to figure out what happened to it as well. So that's great.
And if he had done the dishes, he might have even done the dishes and I didn't notice. It was like, oh, well, I guess I didn't. But that was so obvious, and it was powerful.
Yeah, did you find any other, I guess, energies from that experience? Did you make any other connections besides just acknowledging that he did that for you?
Just that one thing, but there's a strange thing that happens on my mom's side of the family. When someone dies, I've always had some sort of weird experience. Like I know when one of my cousins died, I didn't even know they'd passed. And I used to have a section of my home that was a meditation room, and I went in the meditation room. My ritual was before I go to bed, I go in the meditation room, turn off the lights, light a candle, and meditate for 20 minutes, go to bed. That was my simple ritual. So I remember that night I turned off the light, lit the candle, but when I lit the candle, the whole room lit up. And I was like, wow, that's a powerful match. And then I looked behind me and the lights in the kitchen were going on, off, on, off, on, off. And I was like, okay, that's really strange. I'm not afraid of ghosts, or I'm just not afraid. So I mean, when you do what I do, you just can't. If you were, you'd crumble. It's just you have to have a thick skin that way. So I said, okay, something is here. And I did a meditation and I called my mom the next day and said, who died? She said, oh, this cousin died. I was like, well, they came by to say hello. And there's been other situations like that too, where I've had encounters. But the one that was the most comforting was my dad because, it was my dad. And I couldn't go to the funeral, and it was just really, really nice to have contact with him.
Yeah, it's definitely important when, especially if you can't make it to the funeral or celebration for them, that something does happen personally to you afterwards. It just makes a final connection, right?
It was honestly, it was probably the greatest gift. I really, really, really needed that. Yeah, yeah, it was so powerful and important. Um, it didn't tell me anything new because I already believed, but it just validated a lot of things for me. And I do share that story with clients who have lost someone and say, they haven't gone far because they usually don't. They don't go far at all.
No, for sure. I know what you're feeling. We just lost a close family person as well this Christmas, so I know exactly what you're going through. And in fact, we had something happen here just before we left for the visitation as well. So
lovely.
Yeah.
Now, did it scare you or did it
Not at all.
you?
No, comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, in your business too,
we're totally used to experiencing things.
The lay of the land.
Yes.
I'm glad that happened because it is comforting. I heard that sometimes if you draw a salt line in front of a photo of that person, you will see lines crossing it. If you set that intention. But it is comforting to. I mean, so many people come to me who've lost someone, and I'll say to them, "They're with you. I can feel it," and they're like, "I can feel it too." And it's like, and it's hard because they are with you, watching you miss them. It's tricky because they're like, I'm here with you. I'm closer now to you than I've ever been. But we still feel the void. But it's not a permanent void at all. It's just, it's perspective.
It's all perspective and intent as well, what you believe. So if you believe in them, they will be there for you. So, but some people believe that they just go off into different realms and then they won't have contact with them. But if you believe that they are around and they are with you always, then they will be with you. So.
Well, that's one of the things I'm learning as a death doula is that we have to respect everyone's perspective and religious views and say, there's not one way. That we just need to respect what the other person believes and values.
Well, thank you so much, Ralph, for coming on Haunting Live podcast with us for this episode. Is there anything else you would like to mention to us or let people know how they can get a hold of you if they want to come to you for a reading or any of your other services you provide? You can give us some information about that.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a pleasure sharing my experiences. And if anyone is interested in getting any type of guidance or readings, they can visit psychicralph.com and just take a look through the different services I offer. And if you're interested in getting a wedding officiant, revralph.ca is the option there.
Sounds great. We will put your information in the show notes here under our platform so people can find you a little easier. And thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure meeting you and great to meet a local psychic again in the region here, and hopefully we can connect again.
Thank you.
Miss one of our episodes? Replay our episodes on Rhode Island Broadcasting. Show your support for Haunting Live by supporting our broadcast partner, Rhode Island Broadcasting. Find them on YouTube.